In this video, Mr. Balin discusses the disturbing case of Jamie Kloss, a young girl from Wisconsin who was abducted by Jake Patterson. The case is unsettling because the perpetrator had no criminal history, no apparent motive, and randomly targeted Jamie. Patterson had no previous connection to the family, and his only reason for abducting Jamie was that he saw her getting on a school bus one day and decided she would be the one he would take. The story unfolds as Jake Patterson meticulously plans the abduction, preparing by purchasing a gun, gloves, a balaclava mask, and other supplies. After two failed attempts, Patterson finally succeeds in abducting Jamie in the middle of the night, after murdering her parents. He then keeps Jamie locked in his home, under the bed, for almost 3 months. Throughout this time, Jamie is kept in isolation, neglected, and threatened with violence if she tries to escape. However, after 87 days, Jamie seizes the opportunity to escape when Patterson leaves for a job interview. She runs to a nearby woman, Jeannie Nutter, who recognizes her from the missing person posters. Jeannie takes Jamie to a neighbor's house and calls the police, who are shocked to find Jamie alive. Jake Patterson, upon discovering that Jamie has escaped, immediately tries to find her, but is arrested by the police soon after. Jake Patterson is arrested, confesses to the crime, and is sentenced to life in prison without parole. The case remains baffling to many, as it seems unexplainable how a person with no criminal background could randomly abduct and harm a child in such a brutal manner. After Jake Patterson was arrested, the investigation into his background revealed even more chilling details about his actions. Leading up to the abduction, Patterson had been living a seemingly normal life in a small, secluded home in Wisconsin. He had no prior history of violent crime, and no one could understand why he chose Jamie Kloss as his victim. During his interrogation, Patterson admitted that he had no specific motive, and he could not provide a clear reason for why he targeted Jamie. He had seen her getting on a school bus one day and, in a moment of obsession, decided that she would be the one he would take. In the months that followed, as the story gained national attention, investigators pieced together the timeline of events. Jake Patterson's actions were methodical and premeditated. From the moment he saw Jamie getting on the bus, he began planning her abduction. He meticulously prepared for the crime, purchasing items such as the shotgun, balaclava mask, and gloves to avoid leaving evidence behind. He even cut the cord in his car so that he could keep Jamie locked in the trunk, without any chance of escape. What made the case even more terrifying was the fact that Patterson had no criminal history, no personal vendetta against Jamie or her family, and no apparent history of mental illness. It seemed as though he was just a completely random predator, acting on impulse and fantasy. The chilling thought that someone could target a child with no clear motive and be capable of such horrific acts without any prior warning signs left the community reeling. Jamie Kloss, after being freed, was taken to a local hospital where she was treated for the physical and emotional trauma she endured during her captivity. The strength and bravery she showed during her escape left many people in awe. Despite being held captive in isolation for almost 3 months, with little food or water, Jamie remained determined to survive. Her escape was a miraculous moment of hope in an otherwise devastating situation. Throughout the trial, Jake Patterson remained largely silent, offering no real explanation for his actions. He claimed that he was not a serial killer, but rather someone who acted on a single, impulsive desire. The prosecution argued that Patterson was a dangerous and calculated individual who deliberately took Jamie from her home and kept her in captivity for his own gratification. On May 24, 2019, Patterson pled guilty to 2 counts of first-degree murder for killing Jamie's parents, and 1 count of kidnapping. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The court also heard from Jamie's surviving family members, who expressed their deep sorrow and anger over the senseless loss of Jamie's parents and the trauma she had to endure. In the aftermath, the community came together to support Jamie as she began the long road to recovery. Fundraisers were organized, and people from across the country sent letters of support. Despite everything she had been through, Jamie remained strong, determined to heal from the emotional scars left by her traumatic ordeal. She later gave interviews where she spoke about her experiences, expressing gratitude for the people who helped her during her escape and for the support she had received from her community. The case of Jamie Kloss remains a deeply unsettling story for many, as it challenges the understanding of what motivates such senseless and random acts of violence. For Jamie, however, it marked the beginning of a new chapter in her life, one that would be defined not by the horror she endured, but by her incredible resilience and strength.